Well, welcome back to A Man in a Sea of Lies. And I guess you figured it out by now, otherwise, you wouldn't be here. But here on this channel, we speak of what we don't speak of in Canada, generally speaking. Things we don't talk about, like I've been here for so long now, and I observed our political life for decades now, and the duplicity, the double speak, the lies from politicians, and the confusion of the people, and the way we trust, we Canadians trust our politicians. It's way too much. Nobody's taken into account at all. I don't know why. Well, I have my theories. One of my theorists is that we are so trust. So we trust our officials, not politicians, so much. I think it goes back to the original. Our alliance with Great Britain and the Crown, and the War of 1812. Uh, we were loyal to Great Britain, and we supported loyalists in the United States in the U.S. Revolution. So, and it kind of over time, it kind of turned into sort of a loyalist thing for ourselves. I think Canadians are really loyalists to this day, and we have this faith in our political leaders. But times have changed, and most of our political leaders don't have the same integrity as they had, 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago. So we kind of blindsided by this faith of ours towards our politicians and our political leaders. On the other hand, we love progress, and we love the ideas that originally Pierre Elliott Trudeau brought to our country. All these noble things, inclusiveness, tolerance, and all that stuff. So it's all great. I don't begrudge Canadians that. But politics, the way they are, people take advantage of things like that. And I think we've become victims by now of that kind of approach. So there's a whole list of issues we don't talk about in Canada, which is forbidden. And I was gonna make it a couple of videos about it. I was gonna make a video about our domestic approach to our politics in that context, and then our approach to international politics in the same context. There was just too many things on the list. So I've compiled this short list, but it's endless, right? So I decided that I have to start somewhere. So this is it. I'm going to start here. I mean, a couple of my previous videos, I touched on those things a little bit, but so these are the things we don't talk about. Like for example, right now, sort of political economic crisis that we're facing because of the Donald Trump and the war and stuff. So we talk about a lot. We talk a lot about gas prices, for example. Like you turn the radio on in the morning in Toronto, and everybody talks about how expensive fuel is at the gas stations. But we don't dive into our problems with our energy supply at all, and the way it's been managed over the last several decades. So I'm not going to go into details here about stuff like this, but I'm just going to go through the list a little bit, a partial list here. I'm going to, another video is coming on the subject. So be patient, please. And by the way, please do subscribe. I'm not looking to make it big here, but I'm looking to have some support and, something on the side to make it worth my while and your while. So I think I have a lot to share. 40 years here in Canada, and always a keen observer of politics on all levels, federal, provincial, and municipal. Anyway, back to the subject. So, we tend to praise Mark Carney for his elbows up approach, battling the United States of America and Donald Trump right now. But we don't get into the political corruption of the liberal government that's been going on for. I'm not saying that the conservatives are not politically corrupted, but there's so much evidence of Trudeau's government and Carney's government now being politically corrupt, and then there's so much evidence of that shows that they're in it for themselves. They don't really care about Canadians. There is enough evidence. I'll continue to make videos about that stuff, but this is not right now. I just want to list of these things that I want to talk about. So there is all kinds of stuff. So we praise our military. We always supported our military and our soldiers. Well, not really, because I remember when I came in the 80s, the Canadian soldiers used to avoid being seen in public in uniforms. We really disliked our military back then. Well. But we now we apparently support our soldiers and our military, but we don't focus on our procurement, military procurement, the convoluted political defense structure in Ottawa at all. They set themselves up comfortably, tens of thousands of bureaucrats living off of our military and not contributing much at all. So, another thing is we talk about women's issues all the time, of course, because that's the thing to do now. It's 2026. Women's issues are on top of the agenda for most politicians and governments. But we don't talk about how men are treated by our police, legal system, and family courts at all. So this kind of flies in the face of our moral stance that we're all inclusive and equal. Well, we equal when it comes to certain things, but when it comes to other things. Another good example is we talk about traffic, for example. How bad it is in Toronto. It's a huge problem in Toronto traffic. But we ignore the frontal attacks of our municipalities on drivers. It's a real thing. The thing, it's like a slippery slope when it comes to driving in Toronto, for example. The bureaucrats continue to make changes to the way we manage traffic all the time, and it's always works against the drivers. We constantly avoid talking about the poor outcomes of our education systems. And I'm not going to get into examples here because you can look it up if you want to, but I've traveled extensively around the world and I've lived in other countries, and our education system is failing our kids, that's for sure. We complain about social media all the time. But we completely ignore the terrible quality of reporting in legacy media of ours. I mean, it's most of the stuff. It's just They repeat the same things. Everybody talks about the same things all the time. They repeat the same slogans all the time, and there's no really real analysis of anything anymore at all. And healthcare, another thing. We complain about waiting times and how hard it is to find a doctor and how many people don't have a family doctor and all that stuff. But we completely ignore the structural problems of our healthcare system. You know, we whenever the topic comes up, we focus on how bad it is in the United States, and we don't look anywhere else for solutions. We kind of have a mindset that these are things that we cannot touch. We complain about housing and completely ignore what's causing the problem of the skyrocketing prices of houses. And now the market is collapsing as far as sales, but affordability is not improving. How can it? We saw the distance from affordability to real house pricings for working Canadians has never been greater, even though the market is going down right now. So that's one video. There's a myriad of other things I want to touch on, but I've been making notes for a few days, and I had to start somewhere. So I decided maybe to shoot this video and then come back to the subject later. And so I'm going to talk about other stuff that we struggle with in Canada, I think, like our relationship with the indigenous people, the way we treat them and the way they treat us. Nobody, we would just feel so guilty about some things that we cannot rationally discuss anything anymore. We're just guilt-ridden people. And there's gonna talk about our immigration, of course. That's also a taboo subject. I've talked about taboo subjects, and immigration is certainly one of those things that we don't talk about. We're buying this stuff about diversity and stuff, and I'll get into that in detail later. But immigration policy is immigration policy. And any government policy, especially federal government's policy, is up for debate. And shutting down a debate is not the way to go because the outcome's going to be bad. Okay, so this is where I am with this now. I'm gonna come back. There's gonna be a part 2 to this video, and a man in a sea of lies. This is what it's all about. We kind of swimming in the sea of lies. We lost the ability to debate anything rationally at all. So that's it. Please subscribe. Please come back. So long.